years ahead of time, and then what happens to your product? Does it become a commodity? Because food could very easily become a commodity. So we made a decision to change our product and service from a want, because everybody wants great quality food, now that's easy, to a need. So somehow we had to change it from a want to a need. And that was the part that I call looking for our niche. So the niche that we picked to go into and to develop before sales started going down, if a recession came or a lot of inflation came, was healthy living. I saw that was a trend that was coming in the United States, and as we all know, I think that's probably one of the biggest trends now in the United States is healthcare and healthy living. So we researched the niche, and that's what we decided that we wanted to do. But to find a niche for your product or service, everybody's goal is to make money. You know, that's a given. But you have to find a niche that you love, that you believe in, that you could become a zealot, that you could really have a vision and get people to follow you, that yourself and a group and your people that you surround yourself with in your companies could believe in your vision and basically become zealots for that new product, that new concept. And it was pretty easy to do with healthy living. So that was the niche that we decided to go into, using food as the main vehicle for it. Because if you look at all the healthy living companies now, there's a lot of great ones out there, we work with a lot of them, but they all focus on exercise, which is very important. But the CDC says 75+% of all chronic disease is nutrition related. And there was no focus on that. So that was going to be our niche, that was going to be our focus. So the first thing we did was, while researching it, what government involvement is there? And as we all know, especially in food, but the government tends to get involved in everything. So before we even had the actual product, I took the initiative of getting involved with the government and asking them, I want to learn more about this. How could I help? I already had a master's in nutritional science and I was going for my PhD. I offered my help for free. Well, the government's not that used to people offering to help them. That they were, you know, it was sort of like Tarak asking the people how to do a UFOC. You know, really? You want my help? So when I did that, the government surprisingly was very open with me. I was able to get on committees to help do the product specification and label criteria for all natural products in the United States, the USDA standards, work with the FDA, and they were helpful. And if you're going to launch a product in healthy living, it's a good way to do it if you know all your specifications work, because you're writing them. And the government was more than willing to accept my free labor and my staff's free labor to help them write the regulations. Then we went to the industry itself, and the industry had two big groups in it. One was the Natural Products Association, which is a 75-year-old nonprofit, and the other one is the All Natural Food Council North America, which is a 50-year-old nonprofit, sort of the watchdog group for the industry. I was already involved with one of them just as a member. I eventually became on the board, now I'm the vice president, and I said, okay, what can I do? I want to really hone this down so once we have this market, I don't have people copying it that aren't willing to do the work and the effort. So I worked with both of them, and then the Congress asked the MPA to come up with specifications to make it even stricter, and I was able to get myself on that committee to help with the regulations and the specifications, knowing then that while all this is going on, over a period of time, I'm becoming an expert in this field. And you have to remember, there was no field. There was no market at this time for nutrition-based health and wellness. It didn't exist. It should have, but it wasn't there because exercise was a lot easier to do. So we had to see where the industry was. We had to be different. You had to be innovative. You had to become the expert. in the industry so people would come to you, because my concept was to create a market. I knew it was really there, but nobody tried it yet. So we had to create the market, we had to create the buzz. So by getting involved with all these organizations, and then starting to write articles, I hired a publicist, did a phenomenal job. The publicist was able to get me on all the different talk shows, TV shows, radio shows, magazines, which I was never on before, just talking about healthy living in general, not talking about my specific company, but they always would end with that. Then to help with that, I wrote a book. And the first book came out, it's called What Matters, but it's We Can Solve the Healthcare Crisis. Well, once you have a book, now you're really an expert because you wrote a book. So started getting on more magazines, more talk shows. Now it's 4 times a week. And now I'm starting to get people, well, how could we do this green box thing? Well, we weren't ready yet. I'm still priming the market for it. So I finished my schooling. I made sure myself and my staff had the proper schooling that they needed while we did this. I was able to get my PhD, the different certifications that you need. I spent the time and the money to make sure the staff that I hired had the certifications and, if necessary, the schooling, because we wanted to be the place where they came for expert advice. Because it's easy to go to free expert advice. Then when you finally have a product, well, who are you going to go to? You might as well go to the expert. He gave you all that advice for free already. So that's how we try to prime the market. And while doing this, we made our organization, which, like I said, has been around for a while. We were just making a shift because we still have the same model throughout the Southeast for the older way of doing it. We just switched to all natural foods. Now we started getting innovative. We started getting more techy, started getting everything researched, everything online, everything categorized, so we could do it in the form of a platform and offer it to large organizations, nonprofits, other health and wellness companies, while getting the market ready for it. So now it became time to really warm up the market, because now we're getting closer to launch. And of course, it always takes longer to launch than you think, because doing the website and developing everything, which was supposed to take X period of time, always takes 2X to do it. So that's what we did. We kept warming up the market, which was indirectly helping our other business anyhow. So we kept our media campaign going, which was all free, except for the cost of the publicist, because these were free interviews. And we came out with another book, and it was called The Green Box League of Nutritious Justice. And we made cartoons, basically, out of all the fruits and vegetables and proteins. And we had good guys and bad guys. So the good guys were nutrition, and the bad guy was OBCD. But again, this was really just to warm up the market. You have comic books in there and coloring and all the real information on why fruits and vegetables and proteins are important, what makes them important, recipes, exercises. I got selected to be in charge of Paula Plus, which is the Presidential Active Lifestyle Award, and the Plus stands for nutrition. So we put that in the book to promote it. Well, while we're still getting ready for Green Box to launch, now I'm getting lots of inquiries, right, from over 10% of the Fortune 500. Could we be a beta test? We've been talking about this thing now for over a year, but we don't see anything on it except for a website that says under development. So the buzz was created. Well, all of a sudden the book takes off. And obviously that wasn't the idea of it, but it sold 140,000 copies in 80 days. Well, now this thing that was supposed to just help another business became a business. Now we started getting contacted by movie studios. They want to do a cartoon. App makers, they want to do apps. Big sponsors. Could we get hooked up with this somehow? And we'll help coordinate it and pay for it. And then we launched Greenbox Foods. So what we wanted to make sure before we launched Greenbox Foods is that we did it as flawlessly as possible, because we took so long and we had the demand. So we had to start believing that we were going to have this huge demand so we could fulfill, because that's usually the problem with startups. Luckily, we had a parent company behind us that could do some of that. So we launched it, and it actually did everything it was supposed to do right away. And now we have basically a waiting list of people that want to do it, but it takes a certain amount of time to launch each one, and we want to do it right. And I never did it before in sales, but it's a great sales gimmick to say, okay, well, we could take on as a customer, but it'll take us about 3 months. And people that are trying to give you money are not used to you saying that, especially if you're serious. How does this work? So that was the first book. And you can see it had a chapter in there that Greenbox Food Saves America. It was talking about the healthcare crisis. That's what started the initial buzz. Then they had me create a website, because I started having books. And so now I have radio, TV shows. And since I'm originally from New York but live in Atlanta, you should have seen the calls that I was getting from New York from friends saying, hey, if they didn't know you, you're like famous. But it's creating the buzz, which is what we wanted to create. And we had the resources there for them to be able to see the research we did on how nutrition affects all the different chronic diseases. And for lack of a better word, the credibility, because we're on Sean Hannity or we're in People magazine, and people correlate that to credibility. So these are just some of the shows, but there's been now over 400 of them. And it warms up the market, like I said, and it gives you that buzz that you want, so you can launch, so you really believe you're going to sell it, and you don't run out of all your frames in 72 hours, because you prepared ahead of time, so you really believe you're going to do that, and that's what we were able to do. So this was the new book, and it was just a ball to do, because I'm doing comic books now, and it's stuff that I never did. And the kids get to color, I have blank pages so they could color the comic books and they could spell. But what happened is, now the kids are asking the parents about healthy living. The kids are going to the supermarket and they're naming the fruits and vegetables. The parents are writing or emailing us, well, how could we do this Greenbox thing? I said, well, you have to be part of a company, you have to talk to your company. Some of the parents own companies saying, okay, you have my kid call me Beauregard Banana, now you better join Greenbox Foods because he's driving me crazy. That's how you want to start, if you can, a business. And of course in the book we have all the real stuff, descriptions on all the foods. We also have all the exercises so you can do it together as a family, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And then now Greenbox is really ready to launch. So we launched our website, and each one is done separate for each company. I didn't put it on the internet, I just did it as a PowerPoint. But so we explain what the program is, we work it out with either the organization, sometimes we do it through other health and wellness companies. Schrock might be the largest retail healthy living partner in the United States by next year because of networking at this conference, because he already has the base to do it. So what happens is, after we work with the HR people, explaining to them, do a normal campaign through all the different medias, the people take a health assessment. They take a health assessment, and it's a very detailed one, say 150 plus questions. Well, from this, we could determine, plus what they really know already from their doctors, what problems they have, if any. If not, they could just get food. It's all natural. We sell the food at cost, because that's not our business model. We're paid by the corporations, to use our model. This way we don't have that as one of the blocks. We don't have to worry about price. You can't do anything if you sell it at cost. So then you just have to worry about buying good, and we already own manufacturing. So they go from the health assessment. If they want to do anything, they just click on how to improve it. Now it gives them different menus in detail for the top diseases. I just put some of them on here. But we have the top about 60 chronic diseases. And like I said, the CDC says 75+% of all chronic disease is nutrition related. Now, if you look on the top of it, you can see we also have fitness, we track everything, we have communities, we have tools, so they can do it on their iPhone. We have knowledge, which is all the articles. We have challenges if the different corporations want to do a race or want to have contests between the different departments to get involved. So we have it all, but our main claim to fame, because what they care about sooner or later, more sooner than later, is their return on investment. How much are they investing in health and wellness, and what's going to be their return? Will it lower their insurance rates? Will they have less claims, etc.? And nutrition is the fastest way to get a quick return on the investment. So they pick out the disease that came from the assessment, then we detail what the program has in it. Then we tell them what's available. It's rather inexpensive. We detail it some more for them. And if they want, they just click on it. It's shipped right to their home. And during this whole thing, they have the ability to talk with registered licensed dietitians, doctors, fitness experts to set up a fitness plan for them, dietitians to make any modifications they might want to make in it. And then we have the tracking ability to track not just the calories, but the basal metabolism, which is the calories you burn, basically doing nothing, the food that they ate, even if it's not our food, the calories they burn through exercise, and it goes deeper. We track for them their fats, their protein, their sugar, their trans fats. We'll get real specific so we could follow it. And if they want it, they have this available for their doctors or licensed dietitians to do it. And it gives them a good return on investment. Like I said, you can see the food is pretty inexpensive. It's all USDA, all natural or organic. And we wanted to take the price exemption barrier away so they wouldn't have that as an excuse, because people still inherently, if something's $1.50 and it's really good for you and something else is $1.25, they'll still tend to go to the $1.25 lots of times, so we wanted to get rid of that. Anyhow, so we launched it. A lot of big companies. We partnered with a lot of companies. We just started it, not counting the research and everything, but in its first year it became the largest health and wellness company in the United States based on nutrition. So that's what we did, and that's how we did it. And now I'll open it up for questions. Somebody has to ask a question. It'd be real embarrassing if nobody asked any questions.
Who are your biggest customers?
Well, we go through, like I said, large corp. Insperity is probably one of them. There's only some you're allowed to mention, some you can't. Insperity is the largest one I'm allowed to mention.
And are there specific aspects of your program that tend to get the most traction for you initially, or is it the full package that you bring in?
I tend to be a lot of companies have health and wellness already. So, and most of them focus on fitness. So although we have it available for smaller companies, we usually go to companies that have 5,000 more employees, or big brokers like Towers Watson that'll go to the smaller ones, but will go through, their firm to do it. And a lot of them already have it, so we'll just fit into like global telehealth. They already have fitness, but they didn't have nutrition, so we become their nutrition. eDiets already had in a sense, a retail site, but they didn't have the nutrition aspect to back it up and make it specific for them. They didn't have all the recipes, they didn't have all the research. So what we found is you have to make it easy. Everybody knows they have to eat better. Everybody knows that it's somehow related to disease, but if they have to go to 6 different stores, they're not going to do it. And what most of the plans were doing is giving them a piece of paper or several pieces of paper and saying, this is what you do. And we just said, no, click here, click here, click here, and push this button, now do it. And the only extra clicking you have to do is if you want some good recipes, or you want to ask a question.
And how much of it is positioned as disease management versus preventative as far as the company is embracing?
Preventative should be the main focus, but disease management for companies is really the main focus because that's their quickest return on investment. So making it easy, if you have 35% of your company obese and you could cut that down in a year to 25%, you have a huge return on investment because it affects all the other diseases. Now, in the long run, if you could prevent people from getting obese or getting diabetes type 2, that'll have a bigger return, but most companies still look for what's going to happen in the first few years.
In building a business, what's the biggest leadership challenge you have faced? How did you deal with it, and what did you learn from it?
Well, the hardest thing for me, it was a totally different field, and I'm not very techy, although I'm getting better. So I knew to do this, we had to use all the high-tech, everything that was out there. We had to do apps, and we had to make it interactive, and we had to make it easy for them. So that was hard to me because I had to rely on different consultants, and even though I had them within my company, I would be able to explain it verbally what I wanted, and they'd give me this 26, I said, I don't even understand that. Why can't you just do this, this, and this? And you have to go through a lot of people because I think they could charge more maybe when they make it seem real complicated. I didn't want it to be complicated. It had to be easy. I have all the material, just match it together. And that was very hard for me to get to understand that if you believed that what you had was right, there is a way to do it, and you don't have to do it the way they say. They're supposed to be able to develop how to make your system work. You should have to adapt your system to the current technology. And I was able to do that, but that was a big challenge for me. Because everybody would say, well, you can't do that. Hey, don't do that. So that was sort of hard.
Sir, I'm very passionate about you.
I don't think you learned how to turn on his computer till 3 years ago.
On talk shows and blog.
I'm not kidding. He would keep note paper.
Well,
Everything was on a piece of paper.
I'm still in the Marine Corps Reserves. I'm sort of a dictator. So I try to, have the right people around me, experts. But almost all the time that I spend on radio, TV, they come to my office. So it takes me 2-3 hours a week. And I don't think it takes that much focus away from my business. Not if you ask my wife, she'll say I take the focus away from there. So I don't think it took that much away from the business, but it does some. And as you get bigger, you can put better and better people around you, and I'm really fortunate. I have a great team around me. A lot of them have been around me for 20, 30 years and have grown with us. Went to school, learned more, and of course we're always bringing in young talents, and you have to trust them. You have to check, it's sort of like what Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify, and that's how we tend to do it more and more.
Thank you.
What is the typical ROI, and how do you get it?
Well, the typical ROI is they just look at their insurance costs. But so on that, we're still able to help because when you have a good health and wellness company, your insurance costs tend to go down 2 to 9%. So you have maybe a 2 to 1, 2.5 to 1 ROI. But when they start counting in productivity and lost time and lost work, and absenteeism and presentism, then it could go up to 4 to 5 to 1, depending on the percentage of engagement you get within a couple of years, which is very high.
Do you have any plans to expand to individuals in the future?
Right now, I'm not doing it, but I'm doing it indirectly with other partners. But you might want to talk to Tarak at the end of the thing, because he might be doing it for individuals. It's easier for us because we have to build a platform. So, and then from that company or entity, they go to either their employees or their members. So it does get to the individuals, but it's too hard to do it directly to the individual. This is messaging.
Well, your little brother gives you the password to get in.
Would you mind elaborating on that? Why is it too hard to get to the individuals? It's different than getting to the customers, but why is it too hard?
I don't make any money on the food. So I'm paid by these companies for use of the platform on a PM model. So, you know, it could be 20 cents per employee per month or $1, you know, depending on the size. If you deal with an individual, how do you do that?